Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Marvelite podcast. I am your host this week, Luke, and I am joined with Will.
What's going on?
And we have a very special guest with us this week. It is Armin from the Comic Book Cast. Say hello, Armin.
I'm so sorry this episode just completely sunk in the ratings. Like, you guys are going to get more dislikes than ever before. The ultimate Marvelite is here. We fucking hate them.
Just to let you know, Armin, we plug CBC pretty frequently.
We do,
I listened to a few episodes. I listened to a few, don't worry. I'm always, backlogged by, 4 weeks, though, on everything I do. So, it's...
I feel that.
But you guys are definitely my favorite, hybrid network show, because you're talking Marvel, and I love me some Marvel, so...
Oh, well, who doesn't?
Yeah,
We're Armin approved. I actually have to thank Armin for something specifically. A long time ago, you plugged Cosplay Sky for that Captain America Winter Soldier outfit. And I bought it back at Thanksgiving. Didn't get to wear it till I got home for Christmas. And, yeah, it's perfect.
How amazing is that? People always say, dude, you're sold out with that. I'm like, no. I told him I'd only sponsor it if it was good, and it's good.
Yeah, it's damn good. And I have the Shield backpack, which actually makes it perfect.
Yeah, that's a smart one for con, man,
That's exactly why I got it. I'm like, I want that outfit. He said it's good. I trust him.
I just want to take a second to kind of apologize to the viewers. We haven't been able to record in almost a month, so this will be also our last episode for the year, but we will definitely be back shortly after the new year. But anyways, so guys, do you guys have a good Christmas?
Yeah, it was pretty good for the most part. I cooked a lot. Lots of food.
Me, yes. Other than I'm really sick and I've been in the hospital 5 times in the last 2 months trying to take care of some personal stuff. And other than that, man, great Christmas. So, yeah.
Well, that's good. I think I ate a mountain of food and passed out.
I did not do that, but that's because I am fat with a tiny stomach, so it's weird. It's I'm small big. With a tiny stomach.
You're small, big. Don't you lift, bro?
I do lift 4 days a week, but still.
I know, man. You got to get them gains.
Exactly.
Oh my god. All right, so so I was just gonna go with a theme tonight. I guess we were gonna talk about, like I said before, comic book movies and TV shows over 2015. And the impact that they had on us this year, as well as expectations for comic book movies in 2016. So I guess the first movie that we got this year was Avengers: Age of Ultron, and holy freaking shit, that movie was pretty amazing. I think it was a great sequel to the first Avengers movie. I actually thought it was even better. Marvel really brought their A game with that. I personally there's a few things I found that were a little they could have done a little bit better. But people have to understand about Age of Ultron is that I think that the fans literally broke Joss Whedon. I think that we broke him. You could just tell in the movie that he was just so drastically exhausted. You can just tell that there's this overlining exhaustion throughout the whole movie, and I think that's one of the very minor things that the movie had to suffer a little bit. But other than that, I thought it was a fucking great movie.
See, I'm glad you're saying that because I think a lot of people give this movie a lot of unnecessary shit, and in my review, and I still stand by this. I think it's better than Avengers 1 in a lot of ways, and to me, Age of Ultron is the Empire Strikes Back of the Avengers movies. Empire Strikes Back, when it came out, a lot of people actually hated it. They didn't like it as much as the first movie. They were going against it, saying, I don't know, you guys changed a lot. In retrospect, that movie set up a lot of what people love about the entire trilogy, right, of Star Wars. And what I mean by that is, you go into Age of Ultron, that movie had to set up so much, Hulk getting, out of there. It had to set up civil war with some conflict between the characters. Also the Sokovia Wars. It had to establish that, Wakanda exists. The fact that movie could lay the groundworks for everything we're getting in the DCU, starting, with Ant-Man carrying on to phase 3 and 4, And the fact that something like Amazing Spider-Man couldn't even do it right, and they weren't even really trying to do something like that, just speaks testament to how good that movie is. The fact that, I mean, go back and watch Age of Ultron and count every time you see a hint at something that we know is there now, and, you know, like all the hints at the future things and past things and how they're not in your face. It really blows your mind that it's actually a cohesive movie at all. Like, I mean, my hat's really off to those guys to what they did with Age of Ultron.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially, you know, Joss, I mean, he said, you know, shortly after the movie's release that he was maybe getting 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night.
Oh, shit. Yeah, well, actually, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, like, he was
situation,
just so worn out. I mean, it really makes sense that he's done, you know, directing these Avengers movies, and I'm glad that, you know, he was able to do the first Avengers and then come back for a sequel. There's a small part of me that really wants that franchise to be completely his and for him to close out with Infinity War, but I just don't see that happening. I mean, I really don't.
Isn't he still being as an advisor on Infinity
War?
Yeah,
I'm sure that he'll stay on as, you know, an executive producer, and he'll have a lot of, you know, he'll be a creative consultant. I'm sure of it.
I mean, I think he has to. Look at what he did. I mean, when Avengers was, you know, coming out, when they said they're shooting it, I remember every single forum person on Facebook and everything was going, "That's impossible. How are you going to do this? Look at Captain America, how tonally he doesn't clash with Hulk. You know, Hulk completely clashes with Thor. Like, you can't put these characters on screen together." And he did it. Like, that's an accomplishment that only a filmmaker of the highest caliber can do. And the fact that he did it shows you that I think they need to cap him around in some sort of, you know, oversight role. Because, I mean, he oversaw every Phase 1 and 2 movie. You know, he was there making sure the dots are connected. You're not just going to get rid of him. Like, there's no way. They'd be stupid to do that. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. So
yeah, and well, kind of going back to the whole Age of Ultron thing, I love the movie. Maybe it's because I actually am on Tumblr, so I got burned out excessively by Loki and everything. Granted, like, I enjoyed Loki in the first movie, and, you know, I watched the movies leading up to it and everything, or around the time the movie came out. And I can understand why people were sympathetic to him, but I just enjoyed Ultron a lot more. Granted, I do kind of wish he had a couple more sinister aspects to him, and there are things in the movie that were a little cookie cutter. You gotta also, like you were saying, you gotta look at everything else they were establishing at the same time. It's like, yeah, we gotta introduce, like, 4, 5, 6, 7 different, all these sorts of random concepts, and also try and have an overarching plot. Plus, since it's also the interim sequel, I didn't expect it to be, you know, the great. I did and didn't go in with a lot of hype, so it's just kind of like, oh, we're getting another Avengers movie. That's awesome. I have a good feeling it won't suck. When I walked out of the theater, I loved it, but then, like, after, you know, a while, I started listening to some of the criticisms, and I said, okay, I understand that. It's not going to take away from my enjoyment of the movie, but I do understand, like, some of the criticism. But yeah, like, he worked his ass off for that film.
I mean, I'm glad you say that. It's like, people always ask me, don't you, like, I know you love this movie, don't you have faults in it? And I tell them the same thing I tell everybody else. My favorite comic book movie of all time is X-Men First Class. I know every single thing that's wrong with that movie. I can tell you every single thing that doesn't make sense or is broken or a terrible character moment. But it doesn't mean I'm going to outright hate the movie, right? Like, you're a fan because it appeals to you in a bigger aspect than just, it has parts, right? Like, yeah. So Age of Ultron, it does have that. And the same thing I always say when it comes to these types of movies is, equate it to a comic book that's a 3-issue arc. The first one kicks off the story and everybody loves. The middle one is the placeholder that expands on the story and makes up for the third issue, where the third issue, in the retrospect, makes the second one look amazing. And I think that's what we've really gotten here. Because when we watch Civil War, I guarantee you we're going to go back and look at Age of Ultron and go, oh my god, there's the pieces. The same way that The Winter Soldier actually made Iron Man 2 a stronger movie in retrospect. And when you think about, you know, why certain aspects of S.H.I.E.L.D. wouldn't want to contact Cap to help him and things like that, like Iron Man 3. Like, in retrospect, these movies make the other ones in the series look way better, and I think we're going to have that effect again happening. But, you know, only time will tell, but, you know, I think that's how it's going to go.
Oh, absolutely. You know, like, the Russos are, you know, I believe, I don't know if it's been 100% confirmed that they're taking over Infinity War. I I hope that, you know, they really are able to live up to the first two Avengers movies, which, you know, I think that they will. I mean, like, the Russos are knocking, you know, Captain America's franchise just out of the park. I mean, they've, like, exceeded, like, the Winter Soldier exceeded all of my expectations, you know, in terms of lore and just the universe and world building that movie did. It had a massive impact, you know, the whole thing with, you know, Hydra and the fall of S.H.I.E.L.D. Well, I mean, I guess in hindsight, both of them kind of fell, didn't they? Both S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra. I mean, they didn't fully. I mean, you know, Hydra kind of, like, you know, creep back into the shadows.
Rise of the Inhumans.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I don't know exactly what's going on in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but did they kind of retcon Hydra's origins a little bit?
Oh my god, dude, they retconned the hell out of Hydra.
I missed the mid-season finale.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so did you guys catch what actually happened with it? Like, what the big twist is? Essentially, you know how we've been led to believe Hydra was a splinter cell of the Nazis started by Red Skull?
Yeah.
Well, they come in and they go, hey, yeah, that's just a bunch of bullcrap. Hydra's actually existed since the ancient days of Egypt and the beginning of pretty much humanity. We exist to summon Inhumans to Earth. And there's an Inhuman that we sent to this planet, and the entire time Hydra has existed for 3,000 plus years, we've been trying to retrieve that Inhuman. That's our sole goal. What Red Skull was doing was his own side project.
Wait. So we got biblical age racists. We got biblical age like, super racist
like
walking
around. They
literally
pulled an Illuminati.
My jaw literally dropped when they did that. I was like, did they just actually retcon all of Hydra? And then they reconfirm it later. I was like, that is the most ballsiest thing I've seen them do yet. And it's such in a TV show nonetheless, right? Like, it's insane.
We'll see if they make it movie canon at some point. Bucky, did you know about this? Nah.
Well, you know, and like another thing, you know, about that is you know, in one of the episodes, you know, they had the President Ellis announce to the world about Inhumans. So I mean, they're gonna have to start acknowledging it in the movies to some extent. They can't just, you know, blatantly ignore it because it is happening.
Yeah,
you know. I really hope, as you know, I mean, Captain America is coming out soon. I really hope in Civil War we get some type of reference or name drops to Inhumans out there.
I can tell you right now, it's the same thing I told my guys, because, you know, I have a few sources out there that are legit, but I can't tell you the personal stuff they tell me, only I can tell you what they do tell me to tell, and that there is a reference to what is happening in the world, but it's a pass-away line, and only if you've been watching the TV show will you catch on to it. Other than that, it's going to be like, oh, yeah, there's other superheroes out there, but they don't necessarily come out there and just go, oh, yeah, the Inhumans are out there, we got to go hunt them. Like, they're never going to, they don't do that exactly, so. Yeah.
No, and the thing is, you don't need to be front forward with it. It's kind of the same idea with how people want a crossover with, like, Defenders, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the movies. Yeah. And I'm like, there's a way to do that, but it's like a bit scene. It'll literally be a 5-second toss away. I'm saying, like, Thanos comes to Earth. Hey, look, Defenders look up, shadows in the sky. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. look up, shadows in the sky.
Yeah. You guys all watched Jessica Jones, right? I mean,
yeah.
There's that great scene in the first episode, you know. In the first episode, she goes and she starts lifting the dude's car, and he goes, you're one of them. You're all over the TV. He's referencing the Inhumans, and that's literally all they need. I don't need them to be like, hey guys, Inhumans, look at this. Shove them in your face. I'm like, I don't need that because, you know, I know what they're referencing, but...
Yeah.
So... I mean, I definitely know there's going to be a mention like that of Inhumans in the movie, so...
You're one of the gifted.
You know, what would also be a really ballsy move is if they actually introduce Attilan in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. rather than the movies.
That'd be smart, actually.
I think that would not only be smart, but it would just be freaking awesome. It would be very ballsy, and just look at these massive cojones we got, just plop them on the table.
I'm just saying, man. Been saying it since we had that one podcast. Vin Diesel and Beyonce. It's coming. Black Bolt Medusa.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. I mean, like, I know that people have said, you know, like the Inhumans movie. Someone said along the lines of, like, it's just going to be S.H.I.E.L.D. the movie.
In what way?
Yeah, in what way?
It's the royal family, bro. Get wrecked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think in no way will that be Shield the movie. Now it would be interesting in the Inhumans movie if we did see characters like Daisy in the movie, but I don't know. That's still quite a ways down the road, so
Yeah.
we'll definitely see.
And they kind of did do their own sort of royal family thing with season 2, with Daisy being the daughter of the one of like Dr. Hyde and the villain chick and everything. I'm like, oh, because I look back and I'm like, wait, this is kind of you doing your own little royal family, but on the grounds of Earth, except they're evil.
Yeah, which that they're definitely going to bring back Daisy's father at some point. I mean, he didn't die.
He's not 100% terrible.
No, I think that he obviously had good intentions. It's just he was forced to do a lot of bad things.
He didn't kill that many people.
Nah, not that many.
They're red shirts. Expendables.
Yeah, but so anyways, veering over to our second movie through Marvel that we got this year, Ant-Man. Which just came out. Actually, I would probably have to put Ant-Man as it's in like my top 3 list of my favorite Marvel movies. Ant-Man, if not number 1, it's definitely number 2. Oh my god, I knew the movie was going to be great. There was a little bit of doubt within me, when it wasn't that Edgar Wright had left the movie, but it was just that they were in such
Ant-Man.
Yeah, it was just they were in such a hurry to find, a new director, and it had to go through a script rewrite several times over the past couple years. It did make me worry a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Like, I didn't freak out, and I'm like, no. Kevin Feige has got this. And you know what? Like, they proved me right. Kevin Feige had this the entire time. There was no... I don't even know why I doubt them still. Like, it's not even logical for me to doubt them anymore, because that movie just Peyton Reed knocked it out of the park. He really did.
You're just kind of scared that the king will fall. My thing with Ant-Man was going into it, because I'm like familiar with Scott Lang and Hank Pym and the other one who died tragically. So I'm familiar with the Ant-Men, and I just went. Since I'm not that big of an Ant-Man fan, I just went. I'm like, I suppose it'll be all right. I didn't go in with any expectation, and then I came out. I'm like, wow, that was a really, really good movie, and that was about the extent of how I felt. It was just kind of. I'm like, wow, they did a very good job making a movie about Ant-Man. Here's the thing I just realized about the Marvel movies of 2015. They all had even between the two companies, both of them had a lot of internal issues when it came to the movie making process, when you stop and actually look back at it. And I find that to be kind of weird. I guess 2015 was just a really shitty year for everyone, even Marvel. But it's just kind of a weird thing that I observed. And I think the only thing that may be disappointing for me from Ant-Man, granted, they gave us the most savage, brutal death I've seen out of any Marvel movie ever. The implosion and deatomization of a human man who felt it. That was horrifying. But I think my only thing, and it's just kind of a personal nitpicky thing, is that Ant-Man and Wasp got confirmed for its sequel, so it pushed some of the other movies out of the way just to make room for it. I'm like, damn, okay.
And to be honest with you, I don't think that that's the last of the dates being switched around. I think that we're probably going to see a few more switch arounds here and there before Phase 3 is over. So
yeah,
I was a little sad that Inhumans got pushed back even farther, and so did Black Panther
and Captain Marvel. Well, Black Panther got pulled up, but Captain Marvel got pushed back.
Yeah, my biggest cry was Captain Marvel. I mean, I posted about this on CBC, but my number one, like, out of all 3, like all the movies coming out and everything from Marvel, my top 3 are number 1, Captain Marvel, number 2, Spider-Man, and number 3, Doctor Strange. So the fact that, my number 1 got pushed back, I was so disappointed, but yeah, I trust them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like I said, I don't need to doubt them anymore. I definitely don't. But yeah, Ant-Man was it was such a great film. I think Michael Douglas as Hank Pym. He was a fantastic cast pick.
Awesome.
It was awesome, and it was someone like Michael Douglas had been on Marvel's list of characters to play Hank Pym since like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like
Damn.
before Marvel Studios even had Ant-Man.
Right, since he was on there, like Edgar Wright started working on the movie he was doing his own thing, but officially in like 2003, he was on the list to start developing that script. So when Michael Douglas still looked kind of young, so he probably would have been a younger Hank Pym. So that kind of gives you an idea of how bad they wanted him,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad they still gave Edgar Wright that massive writing credit in the film's closing. Because when you see it, they show Mike Peyton Reed as the director, but they also give Edgar Wright that writing credit. I'm glad to know, they may not have ended on, equal terms, but I'm glad they at least gave him the respect and acknowledgement that, he had been producing that for 10 some odd years, and just a disagreement happened, and, they parted ways. They don't hate him.
Do you guys know the story of why it fell apart, right? When he was working on his version of the movie, it was very campy, and I can tell you this because my source that gives me everything, once again, came and showed it to me. This was confirmed later. His version was very much the version he always wanted to. It felt standalone. It was more campy. Do you guys remember the scene from Spider-Man 1 where Spider-Man punches Green Goblin, and he flies across in the city in a straight line till he hits a pole, and he literally flies without gravity affecting him for about 3 or 4 seconds, and it just looks cheesy? Yeah. That's what his movie was like, and Marvel tried to get that removed, and he kept sticking with, he wanted a more classic, comic book campy 60s feel, like Sam Raimi, and they were, to an extent, going to allow it until he came back and said he doesn't want to build up to the rest of the MCU because he wanted it to be a standalone, and they couldn't agree upon that, which is why he walked away. Which, honestly, it's I understand Marvel and I understand him.
Yeah.
He was working on this movie before the MCU ever took shape. But the fact of the matter is, this is a big gamble movie, and they need that connection. I mean, he didn't want the Falcon in the movie at all. And they were like, no, we need the Marvel connection. He was like, well, that's not going to fit. So that's one of the rewrites that happened. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I love Edgar Wright, but it's Disney's movie, and look at what it did. It paid off because it's a huge hit, right? So they clearly chose the right decision to go with it.
Oh, no, bro. That movie flopped, apparently.
Marvel's first flop.
I mean, have I ever told anybody the stat? I mean, I'm pretty much have talked about this before. Marvel's Ant-Man made almost double what Batman Begins did in theaters. Think about that.
God.
Yeah.
Think about
That's
that for
hilarious.
a second, dude. On a cheaper budget. So when you compare, Ant-Man is a huge success, So, and I'm not dissing Batman Begins. That's my number 4 favorite comic book movie of all time. So,
Oh yeah, Batman Begins is great, and to be honest with you, Batman Begins was probably the sort of reboot of the comic book boom.
Yep.
The original comic book boom happened with Blade, and then it kind of died down. But I would give Batman Begins that credit of sort of rebooting that.
God, we need Blade back.
Yeah.
Oh, he's coming. He's coming.
Wesley Snipes. I need some good old Wesley Snipes action.
Yeah. But just kind of closing up on Ant-Man, I still would have liked to have seen Edgar Wright's version if it was back in Phase 1, because that movie actually felt very much like a Phase 1 movie.
I agree with that.
Besides Falcon making a short cameo, it truly felt like a Phase 1. And I think that, Edgar Wright's script may have fit very, very well if it would have been right instead of the Incredible Hulk, if they would have done it right after Iron Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Honestly, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, or after Iron Man 2.
Yeah, you could have actually still done that Falcon cameo back in Phase 1, but because remember he was a vet. He's a vet, so he was working overseas. Right. You could have just changed the location and just been like, "Oh, who's that? Oh, that's Sam Wilson." And it's really? Yeah, and then you just don't see him again for 5-7 years, and then you see him again in Winter Soldier. Like, oh, I see what it's the seeds again. It's the seed planting all over again. So I guess I didn't think about that part, but whatever.
Yeah. Does anybody have any closing thoughts on Ant-Man?
I mean,
way to go, Paul.
I mean, my closing thoughts on Ant-Man are: I wish more comic book movies would be more like Ant-Man. Make a connection to the bigger world, but be a self-contained story. And I'm hopeful that that's what this movie can show you, how to do right. So, I'm hoping Spider-Man is pretty much just like Ant-Man. Self-contained story, throw in an Avenger if you need it, but have it be about the character and the character, growth. And that's all I really want. So, Ant-Man, that's my favorite comic book movie of the year. Well, other than Kingsman, but, that's not Marvel, so whatever.
We had to mention Kingsman.
It's Miller, but it's not Marvel.
Yeah.
The one time.
All right. I guess we're gonna move along to TV shows. Jessica Jones.
You don't want to talk about the Friendly Four?
Oh my God, I
Do
forgot.
we have 3 hours to record of me fucking ranting? Good God.
It'd be six between the two of you.
Back in August, Armin, I spent a good portion of an episode just yelling into my mic.
I mean, people literally watched my review and they watched the video of why I said, it was just called Why I Love the Fantastic Four. And after that, people were literally like, oh my God, we don't understand how much you love these characters. I'm like, no, you don't understand, because, they're so special to me. And what that movie did to them, it's unforgivable. I hate them. I hate everything about that fucking movie.
I can say, in all honesty, Fantastic Four is the only film I've seen that got reboot and went down in quality. That's since the 80s over time. It's almost impressive, because think about Spider-Man. We had the old show in the 60s, and you step forward, you had the Raimi films, and there are aspects of the remake that were better. Amazing Spider-Man is is my favorite superhero film for my own reasons. But I know it has issues. But there are aspects of it that were better than the original. Fantastic Four has somehow progressively gotten worse, which is kind of a fascinating thing to see. You're like, how did you manage to without any sort of joking fuck up 4 times?
I'm glad you say that, because it's you watch the Corman version, you're like, wow, if this would have been a high budget, it'd actually be pretty good. Then you watch the mid 2000s, and then you just get, it's oh, the first one sucks, the second one ruins everything, and then you're like, all right, 4th time's the charm, right? And then it's literally worse than all of them. It's a progressive down. I would give the Corman a 4. And then it's a 3, and then a 2, and this was just a
0.
1. You're like, what is happening? How do you do this? There's got to be some sort of law in history that this is impossible, and they literally broke the impossibility.
Yeah.
No, you know what it was? That movie was made out of spite.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
It was a spiteful movie. That's the only reason why that movie was made. And there's so much animosity between studios. It wouldn't surprise me if they, instead of rebooting again or making a sequel, they will just sit on that one movie and not make anything else of the Fantastic Four, not even include them in X-Men movies for 7 more years, maybe reboot it then, or maybe consider selling it back to Marvel.
Oh, no, man.
Once Marvel's done with Phase 3.
You'll get a Human Torch solo flick. They all get solo pieces. And then they're going to bring them together for that actual Fantastic Four movie, like the goddamn Avengers. Oh dear God, I just inspired something horrible.
And what's crazy is the fact that Darth Vader, who is known as the greatest villain in film history, was inspired by Doctor Doom. That was the emphasis for his creation. George Lucas has said this, and that was the inspiration for how he wanted a leader that's a monarch and strong, that you can sympathize with him once the series gets fleshed out. And how crazy is it that the greatest, in my opinion, the greatest villain in Marvel history has been mistreated over and over and over again, to the point where it's almost it should literally be a crime. It's a literary crime to what these movies do to Doctor Doom. It shouldn't be that hard to get literally a villain, and I put that in quotation marks, who is a sympathetic person, to just be ruined so bad. His story is beautiful and great, and it writes itself to a great movie, but they ruin it in the worst ways possible. I don't get it. How is that even possible? It just blows my mind.
It boggles my mind as well. I mean, Doctor Doom is one of my favorite characters in all of the Marvel Universe. Everything about him is special to me. He's more than just a villain. There's depth to that character, and throughout the years, I've really felt for that character. It makes me want to fucking throw up in my mouth when I watch something, that garbage that they spewed out into theaters this year. I couldn't believe it. I was so upset. I'm so glad I didn't pay for that movie.
I am too.
I'm so glad.
I remember sitting at home watching
how hard is it to get a character like that so wrong? I mean, honestly, he's so simple. He's so simple to tell his origin story. You know what I mean? He he was a college student, met Reed Richards. He was working on an equation. Reed Richards is like, hey, your equation's wrong, and from then on he didn't like Reed Richards. It's that simple. They don't have to get like all. He doesn't have to be this like hacker kid that wears Google glasses.
And I like that you said that. And like, to me, I've said this multiple times. You can make a 2.5-hour movie on Victor Von Doom as a child. And the story would break your heart. I mean, he's a villain who's a villain because all he wants to do is save his mom from dying.
That's his entire origin. The whole reason why he went to school to study science and get like super smart, it is all for his mother. He was writing an equation to essentially talk to his dead mother.
Right.
He was trying to bring his mother back from the dead. That is what he was working on. I think it also dealt with like other dimensions or something like that.
She got sent to hell, didn't she? Because she was a gypsy, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
even Death Battle got it right. That's how I learned.
That's what he does. What he does is because he's not a villain. He's a hero who just wants to do the right thing by his mom, who was taken from him for the wrong reason because, well, she was a gypsy, and that's like, racism and all that. It's like, in today's world where that's actually a problem, you can make the Doctor Doom movie and not even, like sell it as a comic book, as a social piece, and people would look at that and go, oh my god, is this really how terrible humanity is? It's like, yeah, we are. But no, they fuck that character up every single chance they get.
I mean, at least for the second reboot, they kind of got... I'll give them this. They got the look of the Fantastic Four pretty much right, except for when I watched the Josh tanked version. When I saw the Human Torch, and I'm just like, wow, he looks exactly like the comic book, and that's what the problem is.
Yeah, like everything about the movie was just so wrong. From the acting to the script to the director to the producers. I mean, it doesn't help when you have a douchey director who doesn't really know what he's doing because he's only done like one movie before that. It doesn't help that you have that, but also producers coming on set and like meddling with things. Like Josh Trank would come on set in the morning, and like Simon Kinberg and other producers would be in there like changing sets and stuff like that. Like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah,
putting a trash bag on them.
Yeah,
it's scary.
I mean, that would really frustrate me as a director too. I mean, I wouldn't be able to keep my cool as a director. It's like when you make a deal with a director, yes, it may be the company's movie, but you hired me as a director. You're hiring me to take over the reins and to take control of this movie. You know what I mean? It may be your movie, but it's my vision. That's what you hired me to do. You should let me steer the reins.
No, granted.
And that's what they didn't do. I mean, Simon Kinberg, they must not have had enough faith in Josh Trank, so why hire him? It doesn't make sense logically.
Yeah,
no, this is definitely it was a visual hate fuck of a film.
There's just this big part of me that wants one of the, I don't know if it's phase 3 or phase 4 or what the hell, but those 3 mysterious untitled Marvel movies, I want one of them to be Fantastic Four so bad.
If they were to announce that, I would literally, that would be the most hyped film I think of my entire life. Like, I'd be like, no, get out of here, Star Wars, every other Marvel sequel, whatever the hell, this is my movie. So
yeah,
I mean, your pitch for it was pretty good, because I remember I was watching it while playing the Devil May Cry remake, but I'm like, fuck, this is a really good idea. These are all really good ideas.
Me and a buddy of mine kind of had an idea for how to integrate the Fantastic Four in the MCU. I'll just kind of explain it really quickly. Basically, instead of retelling an origin, you could literally pick up with you could explain it in a way to where like the Fantastic Four were a thing back in like the 60s or 70s, but they went missing. Like they went into space or something like that for a long time, and they've been missing ever since. And it would be a neat twist to see that, and then all of a sudden you pick up with the movie and they're back on Earth and they have no idea why, and they have no idea what happened. And I think that would make for an interesting movie.
See, that's pretty much like what I was pitching, because like my pitch was they start off in post Ant-Man, right? And Hydra wants the shrinking technology because they know he exists. So they have them develop a rocket because they believe they found some like quantum particles out there in space. They go and they get trapped in them, and they're literally stuck till modern day until they finally come back. Now, the reason, they come back, they've been stuck up there, and for them it's been like 60, 50 years, right? But they haven't aged a single day, so they've had all this time to, do all this, and they come back and the world has changed, and they find out, the Institute is now the Future Foundation based on the Fantastic Four. They're like, well, we'll lead the new young people, so you have like an older cast, and everything like that. So you could literally make a Future Foundation movie was my basis, and with that, you could still then go back and tell the story of everything. Like, they come back and they're like, hey, when we were, young, when we first went to space, we were like, teenagers. Whatever happened to that Doctor Doom guy? And they're like, oh, he's like 70 now and a ruler of this country, and he's really fucking evil. You guys want to try to stop him? And then he gets jealous that they're still young. So that's what kind of drives him more insane, and he finally comes out, kind of snaps. He's like, I fucking hated Reed Richards, and I thought he was dead. But now he's alive, I want to kill that dude. So, like, you can make everything personal in the MCU, and that's what I really, why I wish they would actually come back, to Marvel. So, we can hope.
Absolutely. And, like, we talked about as well of possibly introducing the idea of, like a Silver Age version of the Illuminati, where, with, like, Reed Richards,
Hank Pym.
and, like, Hank Pym, Reed Richards, T'Chaka, yes, and Howard Stark.
Yeah.
There's just so many ways that they could tie things together and connect the universe.
I think it'd be really fun if they actually if they mixed both types of canons, and you actually down the road you got to see Reed kind of slowly go more maker in kind of his ideals in ways he tried to solve things. Because, like, oh yeah, we can solve this and this and this. It's like, Reed, that's crazy. We can't do that. And just kind of imagine a fight between Doom and the Maker in the MCU. That'd be freaking incredible. Like their version of the Maker, who probably, in just kind of the Future Foundation, picking sides. And hell, maybe we could get what's his face? What's the name of the kid? The son.
Franklin?
Yeah, Franklin.
Get Franklin do some wild shit.
Yeah.
Which is
from the
weird
future to save the past.
It's so weird. Doesn't Marvel actually have Franklin?
Yeah, don't they?
Oh my god, the Marvel rights are so confusing.
Especially Namor.
Yeah, try to figure out if you can figure out Namor, I'll give you some good money for that shit.
I don't even think
characters. So
yeah, I don't think that anyone really knows where Namor truly belongs. like
in the ocean.
It's like Universal has Namor, Fox has Submariner, Marvel has King of Atlantis. Yeah. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
I don't even think they know.
It's difficult. From what I understand, Namor, and I'll just quickly say it here. Namor is known as the first modern mutant, so they gave that title to Fox, obviously. His first, big connections were in Fantastic Four, so that's technically as Fox. The Submariner aspect is over at Marvel, but the Namor concept is at Universal. And then there's another party who's one of those, weird shareholders, like, independent people, kind of like the Schuster and Siegels that own Superman. There's another party that owns the core character and has to sign off on whatever happens that isn't budging anything with it. So there's like 5 people fighting for the rights to Namor.
My God. And what's so funny is that he's referenced all the time in the MCU.
Oh yeah.
Like, he's there. He exists. I think Marvel's waiting until they can get full rights back, or at least partial, with something like Spider-Man to be able to do him. I mean, you see Oracle all throughout the MCU.
Yep.
I mean, Oracle's freaking everywhere. It's in the Avengers movie.
And hell, I mean, in Iron Man 2, there's the scene where they go to the Oracle Dome, and it's all about clean living and saving the environment. That's Namor. There's another hint at him clearly in Iron Man 2 when he's sitting there around the table, and Atlantis is literally pinging on the map. So, I mean, he's there. He exists. It's like we just haven't seen him yet, which really, sucks on our part.
Which is funny because Jessica Jones actually almost name drops him as well.
Oh, yeah.
It was when Kilgrave during the last episode was talking about Oh, he was talking about.
He's talking about the kid. Was that one? Is that the one?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. No, I think that was Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah, people thought that was Cloak and Dagger. I'm like, okay.
He was talking about some. Man, I'll have to watch that episode again. But he talked about some kind of guy coming out of the ocean. I don't know. I mean, anybody that reads comic books can clearly knows that that's a Namor reference. I mean, and if it's not, it's a weird coincidence.
It can be like the weird Iron or Ant-Man Easter egg where they said we got a guy who swings, and that wasn't even a Spider-Man Easter egg. But when they got the rights, it just turned out that that's the one people went to. So
I wonder what that meant, though.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
What it did mean.
Silk, Spider-Gwen, like who's coming in? Well, I mean, someone had an idea for how they could do Spider-Woman in the MCU because before the rights went back, or before they had the share rights for Spider-Man, you could have technically done Jessica Drew because her canon isn't related to Peter. It doesn't rely on his story, so in a way they could have snuck around that and put him in the first.
I have no idea where Jessica Drew is at.
Yeah, it's more confusion.
Yeah. Where's she with? Sword. Oh, where does Sword go? Question mark.
Yeah.
Everyone's been under the assumption that, well, the comic, the movie rights lie where they first appeared in the comics, but going off of that logic, the Marvel would have Wolverine since he first appeared in a Hulk comic.
Fox would own Medusa technically, so yeah.
Didn't Fox say something about that recently? Wasn't there a thing about that about them having Medusa?
I think it's another dick swinging contest, and I'm pretty sure they're just pulling stuff out of their ass. It's like, no, it doesn't matter her first, because if they were to ever, let's say, logistically take that to court and be like, well, she appeared here first, they could just be like, yeah, so did Wolverine, so give them back to Universal, I guess. It's like they're just blowing steam at their asses, honestly. There's nothing to that one.
I really want them to kiss and make up sometime in our lifetime, so at least we get a reference. Not even a full cameo, just a reference to, like, the weird shit that happened. It's like, Doctor Strange, hey, there's other dimensions. The fuck is that? A dude with bladed claws? That's weird.
That's all I honestly want. That's all I want, is at some point to be like, ultimate other dimensions. Hey, can we pull a character out of there? Who could help us?
Deadpool.
This Wolvie guy. Sure.
No, and it's funny you say that because during the shooting of the first Captain America movie, I think that they even approached Fox and they wanted to be able to name drop James Howlett. Mm-hmm. And you know about how Steve Rogers came across James Howlett during the war.
Right, yeah.
And and they purely wanted it for fan service more than anything else. And Fox was like, no.
Well, that's also like Spider-Man 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Kevin Feige worked on those movies. That's how he got his start, and he gave us the MCU because he did, the two amazing Spider-Man movies. He was producing them and working with Marvel. And he went over to his best friend who was in charge then at Fox, and Hugh Jackman was on set, ready to be Wolverine in that movie, and Fox pulled him, being like, no, that's not going to happen. He had everything set, and they were like, nope. It's like, oh, come on, guys. Like, that's so...
See, how could they get that far? You know what I mean? How could they get that far?
You let them in costume and everything.
Have them as far as on set and in costume, and then say no?
Yeah.
It's kind of like there's that one blooper in, I think it was X-Men 1, where just Spider-Man runs in with the rest of them. It's like, oh, okay, well, all right. Not going to talk about why or who that is? Okay, that's fine.
It just makes no sense a lot of times what Fox does. I'm really hoping, since Ike Perlmutter is no longer he's no longer the shadowy figure at the top anymore. I'm really hoping that Kevin Feige can really repair the damages that have been done over the years with Fox.
Granted,
hopefully they can reestablish some type of relationship again.
Granted,
we can hope.
Moved over to Sony, which scares me.
What moved over to Sony?
Didn't Ike Perlmutter move over to Sony?
I have no idea.
Yeah, no, the Fox president is the one that went over to Sony, so that's going to be some dangerous shit.
Oh, Tom Rothman?
Yeah, because that's the dude who was literally, like, he was the reason that Deadpool looks the way he did. He was the one that wouldn't greenlight Deadpool, saying it's going to be a failure, and he was the one that said, yeah, we need to change the color of all the sets on Wolverine when they're halfway into production, and then he actually went physically to repaint them himself when they were sleeping.
Oh my
God.
God.
What the hell?
What an asshole. Yeah, what an asshole.
Oh, that guy.
We thought Amy Pascal was bad.
Boy. Oh, yeah, she's still technically a producer for the Spider-Man movie in 2017, which I think is hilarious.
She is a, let's put quotation marks around producer.
But she's sitting right next to Kevin Feige, and I don't think Sony's going to say no to Kevin Feige anymore.
No.
He tried with The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. He really tried to put his emphasis and give them advice on how to make a good Spider-Man film, and they ignored it. And
dude, when you
they paid the price.
When you see all the things he suggested they do to Amazing Spider-Man 2, and it's literally like, oh wow, this would have been amazing, and then you see them literally reply with, yeah, you're an idiot, that's not going to work. And it's like, no, everything he said would have been exactly what the fans have been asking. So
we were supposed to get Oscorp in the Avengers, and when I found that out, I got pissed. But it's like, well, they didn't have enough time. I'm like, yeah, that probably wasn't the only reason. Like, now that I know more about film politics and whatnot, I'm like, oh, damn it.
To be honest with you, I'm glad Oscorp wasn't in there, because it would have been the Amazing Spider-Man's Oscorp. It would have been that same logo.
Yeah, well, when somebody...
And now it worked out for the better in the long run, so thank God.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyways, I think we're done talking about Fantastic Four. That made me really sad. I get sad every time I talk about that movie, but
yep.
I'm not. I don't even get mad anymore. I'm just sad.
Time to open up the sad box of Fox.
But anyways, I kind of just wanted to talk about Jessica Jones real quick. This is really the only Marvel Netflix show that we got this year.
Well, I mean, Daredevil was this year.
Oh wait, you're absolutely. Oh
yeah, people
crap.
forget
you're
that was this year because it was like most of us like did it in one day, right? So it's like
I keep forgetting that it came out this year.
I can tell you, as a matter of fact, I did Daredevil in 3 days, dressed as Daredevil for a con that weekend. I did Jessica Jones in exactly 24 and a half hours.
Oh man.
Oh, I remember, Will, you were going to catch up on season 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, and, that.
He started on, episode 1, and I got back to him, 15 hours later, and I'm like, hey, what episode are you on? And he's like, 22. And I'm like, what? What?
I started, I think, around 7 a.m., because I had gotten caught up on Gotham. We'll get to that outside of the Skype call. But... around 7 a.m. at my work shift, and I clocked out at 8. I went back to my room, and I just kept watching it. I skipped season 1. I think I saw the first 2 episodes of season 1. Skipped the whole rest of it. Went to season 2. Didn't miss a beat. And I'm just like, yeah I'm going to get through this. And I loved it. Then start season 3.
Oh, yeah. But anyways, so the Marvel Netflix shows of 2015, they were both, really freaking good. I mean, so good. They Daredevil especially exceeded all my expectations.
Oh my god. I didn't know what to expect. I expected quality. I didn't expect it to literally set a new high bar.
Good God,
in my opinion, Daredevil is better than 99% of every comic book live action anything. It's so good that it blows me away, which subsequently makes it even more impressive that I think that Jessica Jones is better, which I don't know how they did it 2 times in a row, but those people at Marvel are literally geniuses. It's just amazing.
Oh, absolutely. I would have to say I virtually have no nitpicks with Daredevil at all. I mean, Daredevil was like a 9.5 out of 10 in my book. I would have to say the only thing that I saw wrong with Jessica Jones was I felt like it varied from episode to episode. Her powers seemed a little bit shoddy and not very consistent in some episodes. I felt like she was stronger in some episodes and weaker in others, and I felt it for some reason. I don't know why that was, that they did it like that, but it's definitely noticeable. At least I was able to notice it, and that was really the only gripe that I had. But other than that, it was fucking amazing.
Yeah, for me, I gotta say Daredevil. Yeah, I give it a 10. And a lot of people complain about the outfit. I really liked the outfit at the end, so that's why I have no qualms with it. I actually, I forget which comic room it was based off of. I'm like, no, I like the outfit, and I like the build-up and everything. I liked it so damn much that, that's one of the cosplays I actually try to improve on over time, so I'm slowly finding more and more things to get closer and closer to what the show actually looks like. Jessica Jones, I'd say it's almost on par. Both seasons have one episode that I love entirely. For Daredevil, it'd be episode 2, just because of that freaking hallway fight scene.
Right.
But like I can probably remember more. But Jessica Jones, episode 8, because I don't think I've ever seen a show where there's a semi-forced interaction between a hero and a villain. Not where they have to save something, but where they just have to interact and play off of another. I mean, there's the stuff that happened later with the family and, you know, his qualms about being a hero. But Melissa Rosenberg, the producer for probably some of the better and worse seasons of Dexter, also did the Twilight movies. Jessica Jones redeemed every one of those goddamn films.
See, it's like, I watched, Daredevil, and I think it's a 10 to me. Like, it's a 10. I think it's an absolutely amazing show. Like I said, it set a new bar. But to me, and obviously, I think episode 2 and I think episode 7 or 8 with Kingpin were my favorites. So I think that episode just blew me away, considering how much depth they added to Kingpin himself. But
it was his origin story.
Yeah.
That was,
oh my god, that episode was the best episode of that season.
Going to Jessica Jones, what really sells the show up to me more than Daredevil is Daredevil felt more like a heroic show, even though it wasn't a superhero show. It felt more like it, right? Jessica Jones went into an area I never thought Marvel and I never thought most people would be comfortable to do on a TV medium, which was they tackled rape and Stockholm Syndrome full on in an aspect that no one does, because it's a very touchy subject. And, when that really comes to the core of the character and you see, what she's going through, and then there's that great moment where you find out that Kilgrave goes into her own house and finds out where it is and rebuilds her, her old house. And the creepy part he does is he rebuilds her room as in when she was under 10 years old. And to me, that aspect and the fact that she says, "You raped me," blew me away. I'm like, that is actually what they're tackling. Rape and his obsession with not just Jessica Jones, but her as a child. And that just blew my mind. I'm like, I can't believe Marvel and Disney are doing this. Like, that's unreal, It's unheard of. So it's like that show is like 10.5. I don't even know. It's perfect to me.
I thought Kingpin was an incredible, great villain. I don't know what it was about the way that Tenet did Purple Man, but the way that he was just the biggest little shit every time. But he did it so flawlessly that, like, I enjoyed having his character around every time, because I'm like, damn, how is she going to get him? How is she going to get him this way? Granted, there are a couple aspects to the last episode that I kind of called verbatim, but here's the thing, the way they did it didn't disappoint me. Like, I'm like, they dressed up Patsy, or what they call Trish. They dressed up Trish's Jess, and she's wearing headphones so she doesn't get mind control. Like, when I was watching the show, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what happened. But it didn't bother me. That's a testament to you're doing something right when you have a cliche and it doesn't work against you. It actually works to your advantage. And those are like really good qualities in the show, and I really admire that. I also, like you were saying, for a show, especially a Marvel show, because everyone's like, like you always joke about Marvel for kids. No, the fuck it's not. They tackled some real shit, and I'm like, I know people that can relate to that, and I'm like, this is a show that they will appreciate, of someone like moving kind of beyond their aggressor and trying to make sure that their past does not define them. Yeah, Jess is a stone cold bitch, but she was like that beforehand. Like the Purple Man didn't do that. That's just how she is as a person. And I kind of thought it was funny because I'm like, we typically have the heroic or the kind of apprehensive heroes of Marvel, but she's just kind of like, listen, I just have a job to do. I think the only thing that the only thing that may have disappointed me really in that show was we didn't get to see Julie. I think that's the only thing. If I have one complaint, they show the outfit, I'm like, oh snap, and nothing. We got the hot dog costume hero. So that was a little lackluster.
Yeah. So I mean, overall, 2015 was just an amazing time for comic book movies and TV shows. It really was. We got some great stuff this year. Everything that Marvel had done this year blew me away completely.
No, I agree with all that, man. Like everything, I think this is the first year where they've hit it out of the park with everything they've touched. I mean, go watch, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which we, touched upon a little bit. Compare season 1 to season 2
to
now season 3. every single, it's a completely different show. Like, it's the character evolutions. I mean, I keep telling everybody, Grant Ward is, after his whole run on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. done, you're going to look at that character, you're going to go, that's one of the best characters in the MCU. Like, the way they build this character and the way they warp him and, like, change what, you know, what his allegiances is and how you actually see the hints of that in previous episodes and how everything's built up. That character has gone through such a transformation that it's really mind-boggling what they do on that show. It's completely, like, it's a great service to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, I have no complaints about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Any closing thoughts, Will, on that?
I mean, you know, Agent May is my girl, and now Quake is added on that list too. But damn it, I still cannot get over that 10-second clip from the end of season 2. It gets me every freaking time. I rewatched it, I'm pretty sure 5 times in a row. When, was it Fitz? Or which one got snatched by...
Oh,
it was
Simmons.
Simmons.
Yeah, when Simmons got snatched at the end of season 2. I'm sitting in my bed. I'm like, what the fuck? What? And I kept replaying. I'm like, that can't be how the season ends. Like, luckily, this was a couple months back, so, like, season 3 started a couple weeks later on. But I was just like, holy hell, where did she go? I'm just freaking. It still gets to me even now. Even though we know what happened, I'm like, good God, that was tense.
Oh my gosh. All right. So we are running a little late here, so I think just real quick we can talk about some of our expectations for comic book movies in 2016. I think first up on our slate, besides, you know, Batman v Superman being, you know, the first one, but on the Marvel side we have Captain America: Civil War. It comes out 2 months after that. So I guess, you know, we can talk about Civil War a little bit. I would like to talk about Batman v Superman, but just not on this podcast.
Oh, you forgot Deadpool, bro.
Oh, dang it! I am so forgetful of this episode. I don't even know why. I apologize for that. Yeah. I guess I'm more hyped for Civil War than I am Deadpool. However, I will say I am very hyped for Deadpool. I'm very excited. It's probably going to be the best Fox Marvel movie.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I can just from everything I've seen and heard and read about the movie, it just looks, the marketing for the movie is some of the best marketing I've ever seen for a movie ever made.
Yes, oh my God, it's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, I look at it and it's what Fox should have been doing the entire time. And how crazy is it now that we know the story? If that trailer never would have been leaked, they never would have made that movie because they had no faith in it. They were like, no one's going to be interested in this piece of shit. It's like, Fox, this is what we've been asking for. Why don't you just goddamn listen to the fans? Like, how hard is that? You know, it's...
Have you ever been to a comic convention? There's 2 cosplays that frickin' everybody does. Deadpool and Harley Quinn.
And female Loki.
Oh, yeah, and female
Yeah,
Loki.
oh, God.
Well, that's since 2012. Actually, yeah, all of this shit started in 2012. Deadpool, female Loki, and Harley Quinn.
And here pretty soon, it's going to be Gwenpool.
Oh, dear God. I haven't even read that issue. I'll get to that one day.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, yeah,
I don't even know why it's being made.
But
yeah, so they announced who the actor is that's playing Colossus. And I have to say, from that new trailer, Colossus just looks incredible. The actor that plays him, he sounds like Colossus should sound. He moves and looks and breathes like Colossus. I mean, that is one of him and Deadpool are like the 2 best comic book accurate characters that I think we're gonna see in 2016. I mean, I believe, you know, obviously Captain America and Doctor Strange are also going to be accurate, but I think, you know, Deadpool is probably going to make that list of, one day it's going to make a list of like some of the best comic book accurate characters ever portrayed on screen. I don't know why they could never quite get Colossus right in the old movies.
You know why? Because Singer doesn't give a shit about it, and the fans do, and this movie's made by the fans, because when you look at Colossus, that is what, you know, like, in my dreams as a kid, when I first found out who Colossus was, and he was my favorite X-Men, and still is one of my favorite X-Men, that's what I pictured. And, like, you know, he looks like, and I know a lot of people are hating on the way he looks, but I'm like, why?
He's
like,
perfect.
That is comic Colossus. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's almost perfection, so I can't complain.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I really hope that Deadpool gets a sequel. I hope that it does big numbers at the box office. I really think that it will.
If it gets
I don't.
Go ahead. My bad.
Oh, I know. Me and you, Will. We know someone who's seen the movie actually twice already.
Yeah.
And he said that the movie is really damn good. And I mean, he says that it definitely deserves a sequel. So, he said that it meets every expectation that you want from. Honestly, I think that this Deadpool movie is like it's Fox trying to say, "Hey, we're sorry about X-Men Origins. We're really, really sorry that happened."
Yeah, if they do a sequel, I would love to see Bob and Cable, because they're the two that everyone rants and raves about. They're like, "Oh, dude, but Deadpool and Bob, Deadpool and Cable." I'm like, bring them in. Also, Gina Carano was certainly making me feel things near the end of that trailer.
Dude, oh my god, I got like this. Oh my god, that's like my ultimate like celebrity crush. I know it's like people are like, wait, Gina Carano. I'm like, yo, bro, she lips. She's she's
hot.
Man.
She lives.
Come
she
on,
can probably act. Oh snap! I think we found Captain Marvel.
I wish.
They're saying Ronda
wish.
Rousey, but we know Ronda Rousey got she got TKO'd, so she got to get her Super Saiyan levels up again. So until then, we'll get Gina Carano to do the part.
Yep.
But yeah. So, we talked about Deadpool. Now we can talk about Civil War.
I feel like I had something else to say. Oh, I was also going to say, F you, Fox, for getting Deadpool and Colossus so right and correct, but somehow messing up the Fantastic Four so drastically. Shame on you.
Bad.
Don't worry, they'll fix it with a sequel.
Yeah, so that's what I have to say on that. Okay, yeah, so I guess skipping forward to Captain America Civil War then.
Team Panther all the way.
Team Panther all the way. Yeah, I'm two things I'm looking forward to most in that movie is Black Panther and Spider-Man.
Yep.
I know the Russos had spoke out recently about Spider-Man's portrayal in the movie, and apparently it's going to be pretty crucial to the plot to some extent, which is what I kind of expected. I think that Spider-Man will probably have a very dramatic introduction in the movie. Do you think that they're going to introduce Pete as Pete or as Spider-Man?
Both.
Yeah. I feel like Spider-Man by like a couple minutes, and then Pete.
Yeah.
I think what they should do is introduce Spider-Man in a fight scene.
Yeah.
Like when there's a fight going on, there's just this really dramatic angle of him coming in with this like glorious orchestra music.
Yeah.
I think that would be like a perfect introduction to Spider-Man in the MCU.
Honestly, when they put out the apparent team roster a couple months back, and people were making speculations about Spider-Man, they're basically like, well, he's probably going to be Team Stark. Now, here's the thing. That when I looked at the movie and I think about the books and everything, I'm like, ideally, I see both of them. I kind of lean more towards Team Cap. But when I look at who I like, it's definitely Team Stark. And then I look at Team Cap, I'm like, dude, you're a bunch of people. They literally have Cyclops the robot, the Ultimate African, and fucking Spider-Man on their team. You're screwed. Like, that's it. Because people underestimate Spider-Man in the comics alone. Even 16-year-old Spider-Man was a freaking monster.
But I think we all forget that Cap has one member of his team who's the ultimate weapon, and that's, of course, Giant Man.
Well, I was going to say, Ant-Man, because he can go quantum, which could...
That too, so you can go both. Now, I know this might be a little opposite to what people know me as, but Captain America Civil War is my least anticipated Marvel movie of the entire next phase.
It is... I'll say that it is mine too. You know what my most hype for is Doctor Strange.
But that's my, like I said, number 3. And like, I'm not, it's not a slight against Civil War, but here's my thing. Captain America is my favorite Marvel character. Obviously I've talked about Captain America to death on the CBC show and what he means to me and like how important that character is to who I am today. But when I go and I look at the movie, it's not so much a Captain America movie anymore. It is a Civil War movie. And the fact that, we're going to be getting all these other characters and not telling another Cap story, which is what, the last 2 movies were. And I know I'm in the super minority, but to this day, my favorite movie from the MCU is still the first Avenger because it is a very personal, slow Captain America story. So I know, not a lot of people agree with that, but I want more Captain America, and this movie just feels like Avengers retreaded. And honestly, I know this is going to sound like I'm hating on Marvel too, but I'm sick of the Avengers. I want more Ant-Man style movies. I want more personal stories, which is why I'm so hyped for Doctor Strange and Captain Marvel and the standalone, Spider-Man movie, because they are going to be standalone. And Black Panther is probably my number 3 most anticipated, like on all the solo single movies, because hey, it's another solo movie. I don't have to worry about a ton of Avengers using up all the spotlight. Which at this point, it was great to see them twice, but I'm going to be seeing the entire team again in less than a year. Like, it feels too much too soon, So that's just my feeling on it.
I think that Civil War, honestly, should have been like another Avengers movie. Instead of being a Captain America movie, when they first announced Captain America 3, Serpent Society, I actually got really hyped for that.
Same.
Like, I was so hyped because, like, I was watching the live feed and I'm like, oh my god, they're doing... Like, that was actually the day before. I'm like, what if they're going to announce a bunch of new movies? And then, like a few hours after that, me and my friend were talking, like, oh my god, what if they do Serpent Society for the 3rd Captain America movie? And then they announced it and I flipped out. I was like, oh my god, they're actually doing it. And then, like, a few minutes later, like 20 minutes later, they're like, no, we're just kidding. It's Civil War.
Yeah, and I actually had a giant moment of disappointment. Because I was so excited. I'm like, oh my god, he's going to take on the Serpent Society. You know what this means for the MCU? And then they announced Civil War, and I literally, my face went from smiling to this face of half depression, where I'm like, well, I like Civil War, but it's just more Avengers, and I just, I get exactly what you're saying. I felt the same exact thing.
Yeah. I mean, from the trailer that we've seen, it does seem like it is going to be more of a personal Captain America movie, dealing with him and Bucky more than anything else. I think, if anything, the Registration Act will be subpar to the main, overarching plot. Obviously, I think it's going to have a deep impact on the larger universe, but they, even the Russos have said that story is very much going to be a Captain America story, which is good, and I think everything else is going to be secondary at best.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Civil War, I think it would have been left. I think it should have been more of a standalone, like Marvel's Civil War.
Yeah.
Maybe like sort of just like a build up like they're doing to Infinity War. For like Phase 4, they could have done that as a build up to Civil War. But I mean, I don't know. We're getting what we're getting, and I'm still hyped for it. I mean, I'm sure we're all gonna love the hell out of it.
Oh yeah.
More than anything, I am probably excited for Black Panther, because that is my number 1, followed by Captain Marvel and Spider-Man for the movies coming. Like, oddly enough, Doctor Strange is probably down there with the ones I'm least hyped for, and we'll get more to that when we get to that part. But yeah, because we were talking about it on the podcast, we're like, they should have just called it Marvel Civil War, because I remember seeing the announcement for Serpent Society, and I'm like, oh shit, fans are going to be pissed, because I knew since around the times Avengers 1 was announced, everyone's like, oh dude, they got to do Civil War, and more like, how they don't have the rights to Spider-Man, and well, now we're here. But like, just kind of I'm excited I'm very excited for the movie and everything.
I still think Serpent Society is in the universe, and I still think they're going to be in Civil War to some extent.
Yeah, I think they're going to be like the opening fight, like in Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
When they fought
well, during that PR thing that Kevin Feige was doing, someone asked him if the Serpent Society thing was just purely a joke, or if that actually meant something, and Feige kind of got this shit-eating grin on his face, and he's like, well, it was mostly a joke.
Mostly. You'll have to watch the movie.
So, yeah. But I still think the Serpent Society is going to be in there somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, they came back in the Sam Wilson book recently, which I need to get caught up on.
My guess is whenever we get the official mantle passing torch, when Chris Evans gives it up, the first next solo Captain America movie will be Serpent Society, and they're going to tie it back to a more personal story with that Cap, having his first mission be something small. So,
yeah, it wouldn't be bad.
Well, I guess we're going to move along to X-Men Apocalypse.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm the only one excited for that movie.
All right, get off, Will. Just get off.
No, because one thing. I have hope for Storm. Granted, that actress apparently did a shitty job playing Aaliyah. Now I'm really scared. But I'm like, wait, but we have Storm with a mohawk, and she's actually kind of darker skinned this time. Please don't fuck up Storm. Also, I'm still pissed about Darwin. He should be the Horseman of Death, but
You know what I'm excited about? That the fact that this might be the last one before we get another reboot or somehow disconnect from Singer. Please get away from Singer for the love of God.
Yeah.
I know, and he's been talking about like coming back after Apocalypse to work with the new cast, and I'm like, I really hope that they didn't sign multiple contracts. That younger cast, like, my God, please just have them in this one movie and not others.
Here's my thing, right? I'm okay with Singer. Like, I love X-Men 2, and X-Men 1 is great. But here's my thing. I really started to literally despise the man when I found out that the Wolverine, which is, the second Wolverine movie, which I gave, I think, a 9.9. I love that movie. Like, I love the Wolverine. That second movie, to me, is almost, like, perfect to a Wolverine movie. When I find out that he was responsible for removing the scene with the Wolverine costume.
What?
Like, because you can see the scene, like, when Wolverine's going to the jet. The Asian lady has the briefcase that has the costume, and then she gives it to him, on the plane. That scene was removed, and she doesn't give him anything. They pretend that the briefcase was never there. When Singer came on to direct the movie, to direct Days of Future Past, he said it didn't want that in there because he didn't like the suit. So they went back and reshot the airplane interior scene without the costume and the briefcase getting handed to him. And I hate him for that exact fucking moment because we've been asking for that for 14 goddamn years. And he took it away from us. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, I think that was the final straw for me as well with Bryan Singer. I've never really cared for his vision. I don't know what the hell he's doing with Apocalypse. I just, I don't know. It honestly, like, it made me lose interest watching that trailer. Like, I have virtually no hype for that movie.
I have hope, but that's because I try to remain relatively optimistic. But my thing with it is, like, the more and more I become more engulfed with nerddom and learning about the X-Men and their history and everything, I'm like, okay, having mutants being an allegory for homosexuality and homophobia, that's not a bad idea. But then after, like, the first, maybe somewhere through the second movie, they didn't really do anything with it. And they're still not doing anything. And how do you feel
now, like, because you say you're watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., how do you feel about the fact that literally the Inhumans are a better allegory for everything the X-Men stand for ever?
Oh, you mean like
in live action?
Like
the
in
Inhumans are the perfect X-Men. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, it's insane how good the Inhumans are as X-Men.
I know, and I will go back to that second Wolverine movie for a second. I really like that movie up until, like, the last 30 minutes. I really did not like the way they did the Silver Samurai.
Yeah.
I didn't like how he was a
problem.
He was a grandpa robot, and I didn't like that.
Grandpa.
I think that the director really missed his chance on doing a good I almost said Silver Surfer, Silver Samurai, telling a good story with that character, but it just didn't work out. But other than that, I thought the movie was great. It felt very much like a Wolverine movie.
Yep. Yeah. And speaking of Silver Surfer, fuck you for fucking Norrin Rad, Fox. You motherfuckers. That's like my number 5 favorite Marvel character of all time. So,
dude, he's
bad. Well, you
want
to know a little bit. Hopefully, this will lift your spirits up a little bit. But I do have a source that had told me that Marvel may not have the rights to the characters, but they have pages and pages and pages of concept art for characters they don't even have yet.
Oh yeah. I've seen a few things that I can't really talk about. Let's just say one of them has a flaming bike.
Oh yeah.
If Marvel ever pulls that trigger, people are going to fucking melt when they see some of the stuff I've seen. It's quite impressive.
Yeah. We've been talking nights since probably the first podcast as a Netflix show.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Well, anyways, before we close out this episode, I guess we'll
talk Strange.
I think, we'll talk some Strange. We got some awesome news for Doctor Strange. Not only is Tom Holland going to be in the movie, which is Spider-Man.
That's weird, but okay.
Did you not know about that?
No, I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, Tom Holland was on set of Doctor Strange.
I saw him on the set. I didn't know he was actually... I thought he was just visiting.
I mean, that's the thing. Why is he visiting literally across
the world?
Globe? Like, it doesn't make sense, right? And he's there with all these higher-up Marvel people. Like, I feel that, personally, to me, they were shooting some scenes in the Sanctum Sanctorum that's going to be in New York, and I feel like they're going to have Peter Parker stop by there and, like, interact with Doctor Strange at some point. People are like, oh my god, like, here's Spider-Man again. Like, I literally feel that's what's going to be the scene, so.
Well, he has all those contracts, so that'll be technically his first appearance, won't it?
Well, one of the deals with Marvel as well is he has to appear in so many movies aside from his standalone movies. That's one of the deals. And, you know, a lot of times people thought, like, oh, man, why would they put him in Doctor Strange? Like, we were saying that months ago because we were trying to figure out, before we knew he was going to be in Civil War, we were trying to figure out what other movies he could be in. And Doctor Strange seemed like the least likely movie that he could star in. But, you know, Marvel, again, they just keep surprising me at every turn.
And we also forget this fact that Doctor Strange is a prequel. Because Stephen Strange already exists in Captain America, the Winter Soldier. He's mentioned as a Hydra threat. So when we see him go to Tibet and start studying, he's already in the past. By the time he becomes Doctor Strange, it's going to be by the time Winter Soldier takes place, because they already know he's Doctor Strange. So it's another prequel. So somewhere in there, you could literally tie it to modern day and be like, oh damn, you know, I see what they're doing with this, so...
Yeah, so another thing is we got our first official look at Doctor Strange today.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Wow.
All right, so here comes the salt. Here's the thing. He looks perfect to the point where I kind of hate it because I didn't want Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. He looks the part dead on.
You know what? I'm glad you say that because my wife is the same exact way. Every time I mentioned he was Doctor Strange, she's like, no, I hate him. I don't want him as Doctor Strange. He shouldn't be Doctor Strange. I don't believe he's going to be good. I showed her the photo when she got home. She just looks at me and goes, you were right about everything. I hate that I'm proving this wrong. I'm like, yeah, I knew it.
And here's the thing. I didn't think he was going to be bad because I know Cumberbatch is a very, very good actor. But I'm kind of... This is the one time where everyone's like, it's going to be Cumberbatch. I'm like, I know it's going to be Cumberbatch. I'm hoping it isn't. I was actually hoping out for... Did you guys see The Mummy from like the late 90s to early 2000s?
Hell yeah.
Do
you remember Oded Furr's character who played the leader? That's who I was hoping was going to be cast as Doctor Strange.
See, Odette Fair was my number one choice for Iron Man before Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, that was way back in like 2006.
Yeah, he was my choice for Doctor Strange, and I'm like, I wanted them to kind of do an unknown because Benedict Cumberbatch it was too on the nose for me. I'm like, yeah, everyone would expect him to be Doctor Strange. Yeah, he.
So you pretty much wanted the typical Marvel don't get a big A grade actor because, like, let's face it, everybody Marvel seems to get is either on like a rebound from something or isn't a big name and have been forgotten. Like Ant-Man, you look at like Paul Rudd, you're like, really, Paul Rudd, guys? Like, what the hell, you know? So it's like, yeah, like so it's like. I understand what you're saying, and that's actually one of my turnoffs to the initial idea, too, was I was like, whoa, Cumberbatch is pretty big when it comes to it. But then I think about it, I'm like, you need an actor of that level to actually be, you know, Doctor Strange if I want it to be believable, so...
Yeah, I was joking with him, I'm like, well, I mean, they could have casted a black dude and just did Brother Voodoo just to switch it up for everyone, because they basically wear the same... They look a lot alike. They really do. If you go and look at their photos, I'm like, shit, these guys... Because when I was at Wizard World, there was a guy, I'm like, oh shit, Doctor Strange. I researched Brother Voodoo, I'm like, oh no, that was Brother Voodoo. They just have the same outfit.
Another thing I will say, you know, like, aside from him looking good, like, by the way, if you haven't checked it out, you guys need to head over to entertainmentweekly.com and check out all of the official photos from the movie. It just... I don't know. It just exceeds all of my expectations. I never once had any doubts, especially when they announced who the director was going to be for Doctor Strange.
Yep.
He is a horror director, Scott Derrickson, who has done some really, really good horror movies. Like, that is perfect. What perfect person to hire as a director than a horror director for Doctor Strange?
And it's also one of these other Marvel things where they're like, oh yeah, the Captain America Winter Soldier is going to be directed by the Russo brothers who did like Community. And everybody was like, what the hell? And then you watch the movie, you're like, you guys are geniuses. So, you know, if Marvel in 12 movies, out of like 12 of those, arguably 10 are great and 2 are good, which is Thor: The Dark World and Iron Man 2. Those are the good ones, right? They're not great or anything. Yeah. If they haven't won you over in 12 movies... You're clearly not, you know, I don't know why you're even a Marvel fan, right? Like, you're not the audience here because they've got my trust so far that if they were to come out tomorrow and be like, Captain Marvel is going to be directed by Rosie O'Donnell, that'd be perfect, because you're probably smart to fucking do it, and I'm not going to question a single thing you do. So, it's good by me.
Oh, absolutely. I will say, too, this Doctor Strange movie, they're going to be introducing the multiverse in this movie.
Yeah.
And I've told Will this like 100 times before, but the one thing that I want to see most from this Doctor Strange movie is when, like, he first gets his powers and he's mingling with them, and he's just like, let's say he's just like figuring out how to open up random portals, and like he opens one, and it's just, you see like this really campy 616 universe.
Yes.
And with like these really campy Silver Age looking characters. Or he sees like, then he opens another one and he sees like these shadowy figures sitting around a long table, and it's the Illuminati.
Don't do this to me, man. Don't do this.
And then he opens a third one, and you just see a black suited Spider-Man swing by, and it's Miles Morales. So it's like the ultimate universe. Like, those are just the things I want to see. I think they would serve as great Easter eggs and great fan service as well.
I would love if there's a passing line in there. He has, like you're saying, all those visions. And, like, we get Baron Mordo. Like, what'd you see? He's like, I saw a city underwater. I think I would literally I would cover that fucking theater in so many liquids, no one would know what happened.
Like literally the potential for this movie is only limited by Marvel's imagination. I mean, Imagine there's a scene where, the Ancient One is describing the powers of the world or the universe to Doctor Strange. He's like this arrogant doctor scientist that doesn't believe in magic or anything supernatural. He believes in cold, hard, calculated science. And she's like, no, let me correct you. And, she shows him things like a great city under the ocean, and she shows him, like, the Celestials, or shows him, like, the great powers of the universe. Like, I don't know exactly where characters like, let's say, for instance, the Living Tribunal lies, but if they have the Living Tribunal, how amazing would that be able to show them that in Doctor Strange?
Imagine how great it's going to be when, like, he realizes that Dormammu and Mephisto are real characters. Like, one of them is the actual devil. It's going to be like, wait, whoa, like, religion and stuff is kind of real. Like, yeah, whatever. We'll get to that when we get to it.
They could tie that into Ghost Rider.
Exactly.
But just real quick, like, I don't know, which, by the way, Mads Mikkelsen was just confirmed to be the lead villain in the movie.
Yeah, and he's playing it off like he's almost Baron Mordo. I'm like, we know you're going to be like Dormammu. Get out of here. Come on.
I'm actually, I hope he's Mephisto.
Huh.
Actually, that too, yeah. One of those two.
Him or, who did they sat down with an actor about a Marvel, Al Pacino. Kevin Feige sat down with Al Pacino, and the one villain I thought that Al Pacino could play would be Mephisto. Actually. Like, he looks like Mephisto from the comics.
Yeah, you kind of favor the devil. But not like a real devil, like a comic book devil.
But if they're I'm almost sure that, Al Pacino will be in something, because Kevin Feige really has interest in having him be in a movie. But if he's not going to be Mephisto, I think Mads Mikkelsen would also make a great Mephisto. And if he's not Mephisto, probably Dormammu. You're probably right. I got a
suspicion that he's going to open one of those holes and he's going to see Thanos, and Thanos is going to look back. And he's just going to close it. He's like, nah, not going to worry about that right now.
Or he's just like playing with a portal, and you just see this long, like, gooey green tentacle come out, and it's just Shumagora.
He's like, nope.
And he's like, oh my god, and he just closes it really quickly.
No.
I mean, I would love it if essentially when he's looking through different realities, right? If we essentially get what is the Guardians of the Galaxy collector scene, right? Where there's so many Easter eggs that we're going to be looking at it for like 6 months and looking at it on Blu-ray and slow and being like, and pause. Okay. Slightly forward. Is that Howard the Duck's penis? I think that is, man. Make a confirmed video on that shit. Get on that, like. I want all that stuff. I want them to go balls out, and I trust Marvel that they are going to do, and they're going to give us some hints into the future of the entire universe. So I'm super excited for this movie. Everything about it looks great so far.
It would be the most ballsy thing if they did cartoons. Is when he's like seeing. Well, is he seeing visions? No, not even cartoons. If he's seeing visions or popping open like portals, and he pops open a portal and there's like the fucking Death Star.
Fuck.
The Marvel multiverse.
True. It is true because
Well, it's true. The Star Wars characters are part of Marvel Comics
what's
now.
his face?
So
Patton Oswalt has that whole bit about how he connected the Marvel, the Fox, and Star Wars all into one universe, and kind of pulled it off.
well, there's actually an issue of I think New Avengers from a year ago, where the New Avengers, the Illuminati, are evacuating a planet, and two of the people on the planet are Luke and Leia. So,
Oh, wow.
They're there now.
Wow. Well, we are going on an hour and 25
damn.
minutes now.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the...
Yeah,
probably
this
cut
is
in
a-
half.
No, I'll make sure that this all
Okay.
goes up, so. But yeah, I think we've been at it for a while, so I think we're going to go ahead and give this episode, to a close now. So, Armin, thank you very, very much
Really
for having
appreciate
us.
it, man.
Or I guess I say thank you for coming on our show. We haven't
oh
been on
no,
your-
we'll see. I'm secretly here. I'm actually invading, so you are technically on my show now. Because I'm just gonna not go anywhere. I'm just staying here
Oh,
now
thanks.
permanently.
Oh, good. A permanent crossover.
Yeah, but so yeah, like I said earlier, this is probably going to be our last episode of the year, but we will be back shortly after the new year. So I hope that everyone has a happy and safe holiday and new year. Same to you guys as well, Will and Armin.
Thank you.
But yeah, again, dude, just thank you for coming on so much. We've had some trouble keeping people on our show, so we've just been doing guest spots. But I'm really glad that you came on tonight.
Oh, well, I'm
Really means a lot to
glad
us
I
as a
came
hybrid.
too. It means a ton to me. So definitely want to make it more if you guys will have me on.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. All right, folks, this has been another episode of the Marvelite podcast. You can listen to us on the Hybrid Network, on YouTube and SoundCloud. And Armin, if you want to go ahead and plug yourself in.
YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, Amiga, Commodore 64, fucking your toaster. Just search up CBC and we're probably on that shit. I don't even know anymore. Dude, we're on the Zune network. Does anybody fucking have a Zune? I don't think no one does, and I'm on there,
Shit,
so whatever.
that's actually kind of
my
impressive.
God. Do you actually get views from the Zune?
Dude, I get like 4 a month
There's
from
four.
Zune, okay?
Yeah,
so
you have
it's
4
literally
people
nothing.
with a Zune in 2015. Oh my god.
If you're one of those people with a Zune in 2015, I will fucking pay to buy you something else personally. It's
I want
my
to bring
gift
that
to you,
whoever
people.
that is on the show. Like, how's life? What's it like to be stuck in 2010? Sorry, 2007.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right, guys. Until next time.
May the force be with you, and with you as well.